I want to share an insight. I don't even know if I've shared with you this. So here we are going public. Here's Patrick again, just kind of laying it on the table. But a body of work that we've done in the past is around, personal identity. It is setting honest intentions for transformation, which is really a journey of self-discovery and really getting to know and ask yourself the right questions. So, this is a bit of an example of the work we will do with clients within Shift. And by the way, if you're interested in Shift, keep in mind, this is a small group, and yes, we have room for others to join in, but this is a small group program. And then it also is about one-on-one work with individuals in behind the scenes. So the group brings a really cool dynamic to it, but then we break off into one-on-one so that you're getting looked after in that regard. But let's just give you an example, a few questions. I'm going to share an insight I gained. So I'm going to give you a few of the questions that Steffany and I worked with. Now, there's about 25 questions, but I'm going to give you quickly, if you've got pen to paper, or if you want to do this exercise, here's some thoughts. I'm not going to give you all the questions because we'd be here for far too long. But we start with the question of, how do you think the world views you? When you look at yourself and you reflect, how do you think other people see you? How do they view you? What's some words that you would use to describe you about how others see you? Now,
that's a tough question. Think about it. So what did you say? What did you write down?
I had words like competent. I had words like confident, knowledgeable, opinionated, a little bit serious, perhaps distance, a little too put together sometimes. Those were some of the things that I shared in my own notes to myself.
That's great. That's good self-awareness.
And then the question was, how do you view yourself? Ooh, that's an interesting question too.
Like, do you think that how you view yourself matches what you think other people see?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think, like many and most, there's parts of me that are really uncertain about my own skill set or my own competency, but I view myself as capable and confident. I think that in not all areas, but in many areas, I'm 100% confident because, that just comes with old guy wisdom, right? It comes with having some levels of success. And I like the term that showed up in a Mike Tyson interview where he shared the story, and he talked about how we often use the term, of course, which we still hang on to, which is that confidence is rarely owned. It's almost always borrowed. But where do we borrow it? We can borrow it from others, which is very, very common. It's probably one of the most common. But he used the phrase that success drives confidence. Then confidence drives success.
Yeah, so it's a cycle.
It's a cycle. It's a circular cycle, right? But in all of that, to gain that confidence, to gain that success, you're often borrowing it from others. So,
and usually
for
coaches.
me, what's that?
Usually coaches.
Yeah.
Coaches, friends, family, teammates.
Yep. Well, from others who have maybe gone on the path before you, where they know where they're going. It's when I look at it and say, how do I view myself? I think I don't go out of my swim lane too much. I do it for myself, but would not generally do it with others. But anyways, so I viewed myself as quite capable. And these are just some notes that I'm reading that I made for myself. In many areas, not all areas, I'm very confident. Lately, because I'm about to, and we're about to, but I'll just speak for me, I'm about to go to a next level. I'm going to share that with you in a moment. So there's a little bit of, okay, do I have the ability? Do I have the skill set? So right now, in some regards, I'm questioning my abilities. Now, so that is where uncertainty lives. But what I'm confident in is gaining the competency I need. And so that's part of the cycle for me. And that's just how I view myself. So, I mean, I could add words to it, but for this conversation, and I have added words, but for this conversation, that's kind of where things are at. Now, this was an interesting third question. Do you want to, anything you want to say about those first two, about you, or are you just going to make it all about me?
I'm going to make it all about you, but except for the one part that when we see ourselves the way other people see us, sometimes it can be a little bit eye-opening.
Yeah, of course. It is.
Positive and negative.
Both positive and negative. Generally positive, I think, but that would be a total generalization. So,
Well, no,
third,
you've been called curt and abrupt, and I don't think you are. I've been called aloof. I've been called bossy. I've been
yeah,
called a lot of things that I don't think I am. I think I'm super kind and sweet and all those
you are,
things.
you
But,
are,
you know,
and
the
you're
difference
bossy. You're
I'm
all of those
bossy.
things, and you're bossy. And sometimes I come across as curt and abrupt because I'm curt and abrupt. So that's just the way that is. I don't apologize for that. So now the third question, I'm gonna only share 4 of 24. And this is again a body of work that we do within the program. Because each of these questions can take on a whole dynamic when you're in a little small group and or in a small group of discussion and or one-on-one where you're starting to go on that journey of self-discovery. So how is the public you different from the private you? So that's an interesting question, I thought, as well, particularly because I think more than most, it feels like everybody but is in the same space, but it's not. More than most, we are in the public space. We're putting ourselves out there, whether it be audio, video, we're on stage. We're literally putting ourselves into the public view, which at times can be like, you have to get over being judged about it. People who like you are going to like you and resonate with your values or your message and how you show up. But do you think is the public you? How is the public you different from the private you? And I don't like to think that there's a big difference, but I'm sure there is. Like if I'm on stage and I'm speaking, I'm focused on generating. In other words, I want to have my message. I'm trying to articulate, even when we're doing this podcast, we're trying to show up. So there's some generation there, but anybody who knows me, if you're in my space and I'm having a conversation like this, I'm just as animated, maybe even more, probably a little bit more forthright. So I think the public me isn't that much different than the private me. What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think you're very similar. Getting to know you and over the last 30 some years is it really is about a personal discovery and a personal identity conversation that we've had over the years. For me, I'm the same. I don't know if I have two personas. I think on stage, I'm direct. I'm not as animated as you. I'm a little bit more introverted or ambiverted.
Mhm.
So I get a lot of comfort from being by myself. When I'm at home, I'm quite quiet. I don't socialize well. I can be a little bit socially awkward. So I've had to learn those skills when it comes to my public persona. But my personal persona, one of the compliments we got one time when a couple stayed with us that we met in Mexico and they stayed at our home. And the compliment they gave, and I took it as a compliment, is that very rarely do you find people that are the same on vacation as they are in their own homes. And
Mm,
I really took that to heart. And I thought, you know what, if I can be the same person at home, warts and all, in my pajamas, walking around, with coffee breath and, boogers in my eyes. And I can be the same if I'm at a gala. I mean, I won't have boogers in my eyes if I'm at a gala, of course, I'll be dressed up and probably have lipstick on. But if I can be the same person and the people can trust that I'm not going to all of a sudden react a different way, or I'm going to treat them differently in public than I would in private, then to me, that is a self discovery. And that's an honoring of my values so that I'm showing up in all 7 areas of my life the same way consistently. That's what builds trust, and trust builds confidence. So if you think about consistency in all areas of your life, and that doesn't mean perfection. I mean, there's no perfection. It's always a self uncovery, so to speak. So
well, it's
being
a
that, hmm?
we're always going to be a work in progress if we choose to do the work. That's it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the fourth question of the 25, and this is where I'm going to end it and kind of go into a little bit something different, which is what conditions produce the best version of you? That was such a great question. So that's the version of you who competes and gets your best result. Like, what is the conditions that produce the best version of you? And, so just to give you context, we're at the event, Patrick Bet David's on stage. There's lots of guys going to the mic, sharing stuff. It was just a really great environment of what conditions produce the best version of you. Then we had to go back to the room at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night and do this homework. It was, we didn't have time to do it in the event itself. There was a lot coming at us. This was homework that we did, which I thought we did a great job of. It was really, really kind of insightful for me. So anyways, what conditions produce the best version of you? And Steffany, I'm going to ask you the same question. What I got to is what produced the best version of me is, number one, a victory, having someone believe in me, and when I have a point to prove, is all produces. Now, there's some things in behind that where competition, fear of loss are examples, or a setback where I have to recover. Now, those sit in the back. Now, I've never considered myself all that competitive, but I think I'm bullshitting myself, and I'll tell you why in a minute. What conditions produce the best version of you?
Well, I have it all written down, but I didn't bring my notes. But for me, it's being really supported in the area and in the environment that I'm in, being believed in. Competition is big for me. I'm very competitive, and also under stress. I also rise, and I have the ability and a resilience factor that I don't know where that came from, but I have the ability to really calm down under stress. So to me,
Mm,
stressful environments can create a really good version of myself. I have the ability to control my emotions when other people are freaking out. So
yeah.
to me, that's a quality that shows up, and I think that's a really good quality that I have.
I agree. And I think we're both that way. It seems like when things are the most chaotic and when the proverbial yogurt's hitting the fan, that's where we kind of slow down. And it's not that we slow down in terms of decision making, and or it's our brains slow down. We don't buy into the drama. And we're often, I think, a pretty strong anchor for those around us because that's what we do. So that's a good point. I like it.